Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 9th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday. Happy Garfield Day to you. Hopefully you got that lasagna today. As for me, I'd say I got a slice. It's been good. It's been a solid day. Nothing too crazy happening, but, we went to work. Work wasn't crazy, just steady. Post work, we went to the gym. That was a busy, packed gym for the day, but that's to be expected. I didn't get on, my Smith machine like I wanted, but overall, it being a lighter maintenance day, that's a-okay, that's fine. Gym was a good session, good workout. That's all the personal news I have. Really nice, short and sweet for that. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. All right. Our first story comes from NPR. Israeli forces seize Gaza-bound boat and detain Greta Thunberg and other activists. Israeli forces seized a ship carrying aid for Gaza early Monday in international waters, detaining prominent climate change activist Greta Thunberg and other protesters. The British flag ship, the Madleen, set sail from Italy a week ago to protest Israel's blockade of Gaza and deliver a symbolic amount of aid. The voyage was organized by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition and included activists from Sweden, France, Brazil, and other countries. Israeli forces said they took command of the vessel at sea, detaining Swedish climate activist Thunberg and the rest of the crew. Video from the vessel showed the unarmed crew and passengers wearing life jackets and raising their hands as the ship was boarded. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters, Thunberg said in a pre-recorded video, calling for pressure on the Swedish government to help secure their release. Israel said it would return those detained to their home countries. The vessel was carrying the activists. The vessel was carrying what the activists said was a symbolic amount of food for Gaza. And posting on X, the country's foreign ministry showed videos of Thunberg and other activists and said they would arrive in Israel later Monday. Israel banned all international aid from reaching Gaza for 2 months amid increasing malnutrition and recently implemented its own system of limited deliveries under armed guard. Drones off the coast of Malta attacked the ship sent by the Flotilla Coalition in May, damaging the vessel. No one claimed responsibility, but the group blamed Israel. Excuse me. 9 activists were killed when Israeli forces stormed a flotilla trying to break the blockade of Gaza in 2010. Israel has not commented on this incident. So, it's unfortunate that it's come to this where it's like we have these situations where literally not once but twice now the Madleen has tried to do this and they know that it's not going to be successful one way or another, but they're willing to put themselves on the line because it's like, look, we don't know what else to really say or really do to get more eyeballs, more attention on this to try to spark a change. So in that regard, yes, it's very unfortunate that it's just come to this, and even now it just feels like this is just kind of a news of the week kind of thing. That being said, it is a valiant effort, and I got to give props to anyone who's putting their lives on the line, putting themselves out there to not just talk about this shit, be about this shit, and try to make a change for the people who are, losing their lives, losing their family members, every single day. And, seeming that it's only going to get worse for them in regards to the situation in Gaza. So, unfortunate that it went down like this in terms of obviously they didn't, get to deliver anything. They were, detained, you can say kidnapped, and then sent back. I imagine they're going to be getting sent back home and everything like that. But I do think they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish in this regard, in terms of just making a spotlight and putting eyes on it and saying, hey, we're doing the best we can, and we're going to keep trying to come up with something until this stops, until this genocide stops. But yeah, there's more that I wanted to cover from the Israeli Gaza conflict. Let's see, from Al Jazeera. Israeli gunfire again targeted Palestinians near an aid distribution center. And I really just wanted to read this bullet point here. At least 13 people have been killed and more than 100 wounded in the latest incident of Israeli troops opening fire on hungry Palestinians seeking aid in South Gaza. I mean, you have the situation where, they'll close aid and say, hey, don't come here. And then next thing you know, in the middle of the day or, whatever, they'll change their mind and say, no, you actually can come here. And, you have people who are going to and fro, back and forth, trying to anticipate or just say, hey, maybe we'll get lucky and they will open up here. And the price of doing so in some of these people's situations is their lives. They wind up being killed by, Israeli tank fire, gunfire, in which, the IDF will say, oh, they were warning shots. They weren't supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to be there. They didn't respond properly, so we killed them. And I mean, this is not the first time we've covered it. It's not the second time we've covered it. Just in this specific situation alone, with just the Gaza humanitarian, fund or whatever, the food aid situation. So, like I said, it's frustrating. It's upsetting. It's sad. But I know the least I can do is talk about this shit and keep talking about this shit until I'm blue in the face. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to cover those two stories. But let's go ahead and move on to another update, taking it to America from Reuters. Pentagon to deploy 700 Marines to Los Angeles, officials say. The U.S. military is set to temporarily deploy about 700 Marines to Los Angeles, while additional National Guard troops arrive in the city, a U.S. official told Reuters on Monday. About 300 California National Guard troops were deployed to the streets of Los Angeles on Sunday to help quell a third day of protests over President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement, a step Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom called unlawful. The official, speaking under the condition of anonymity, said a battalion would be sent, but for now, the Insurrection Act is not expected to be invoked. The number of National Guard troops is expected to rise to 2,000 by Wednesday, and until then, the Marines are expected to provide support. It is unclear exactly what they will be doing. The official added the situation was fluid and could change. So yeah, I mean, things are just continuing to heat up in Los Angeles. And it's crazy too, because I know that in some media circles, I know for some people, a lot of the onus is being put on the people who are protesting, who are demonstrating, and they're saying, well, oh, they're being violent, they're doing X and Y, and the X and Y are, okay, they're throwing, rocks and stuff at, police cars and shit of that nature. Or a big moment that's been making a lot of rounds, I've been seeing a lot of pictures, is there were 5 Waymo cars, like driverless cars, so you get in, you get your little taxi ride, whatever, your little fare, like an Uber, just no driver. Those have been fucked up, burnt, all that. And, people are like, yeah, I can't believe people are out and up in arms and being so violent over lawful action from the government. And it's like, yo, the lawful action is fucking coming up like thieves in the night. I mean, or broad daylight, take your fucking pick, and going into Home Depots, going into retail stores and taking moms, taking dads, taking people who are just trying to live their lives, saying, oh, well, you're a criminal, period. I don't care if you've actually done anything. The fact that you're here illegally, you're a criminal. This is a lawful action. Why are people protesting this? Why are people so upset about this? And it's like, dude, do you hear yourself? The lack of empathy out of anyone saying and thinking that is wild to me. It just, it baffles me. It's to a point where it's hard to combat that in a conversation. Really, you just don't get it, huh? You just don't care to get it, I guess. All right. Okay, man. Cool. But the fact of the matter is, outside of those X and Y little situations I'm mentioning here, there are not a ton of situations of violence and unrest here, especially when you compare it to, LA's history of riots and situations like that. If anything, more than not, it is the escalation from the National Guard, from the police, when I do mention those things where it's like, okay, well, now the police are being activated, so they actively are, like, detaining people and doing things of that nature. Motherfuckers are getting, like, beat up, roughed up, and that. I watched the video today of fucking guys on horseback with the fucking long batons or whatever, and there's just a guy there, and they're just, like, almost like taking turns, like, getting in front of him, pushing him back, and hitting at him. And it's just like this. What are we doing here? What is being accomplished? These are your own people. Like, what is being gained from this? Meanwhile, you just have the Trump administration just stoking the shit with just more National Guard, and then saying, hey, we're going to bring in the Marines, and then actually bringing in the Marines. Like, that's crazy to me. What does this accomplish? No one wants these people here. You're not providing any safety. In fact, you're promoting more violence with this shit. You know what I mean? You're not going to get people to just back down and cower out. Like, it's a crazy tactic. It's once again, it's an unfortunate thing that you just see that this is where we've come. And I mean, it's not just the Trump administration in this way. I mean, I'm sure you could see the same kind of action out of Biden. If shit got to this level, I don't think Biden wouldn't have hesitated, or any Democratic president, whatever. I think this is just how government moves when, they see people saying, hey, we're going to stand up. We're going to fucking fight this shit. I mean, I guess an example from the Biden administration is you could say how the campus encampment shit went. I mean, how that was treated, how that was handled. So, yeah, I mean, it's a shame that we are ratcheting it up to this level. But once again, my kudos, my flowers to the people who are out there, who are standing up for the people who can't stand up for themselves. If they do, then they wind up being, scooped up and put in a detention center. So, yeah, I mean, shit's messy, shit's nasty, but like I said, it is at least good to see people out fighting. You know what I mean? Doing the best that they can, because that's all we can do at the end of the day. So, let's move on to another story, another thing from CNN. 6 people killed in crash of small aircraft off San Diego, FAA says. 6 people were killed when a small plane crashed into the ocean off San Diego on Sunday afternoon, the Federal Aviation Administration said Monday. The final moments before the twin-engine Cessna crash, which triggered a major search of the Pacific Ocean near San Diego, are captured in an in-air traffic control audio recording from liveatc.net. Mayday, mayday, mayday. The pilot of the Cessna 414, can be heard shouting on the recording only 5 minutes after taking off from San Diego International Airport. The pilot and 5 passengers were killed when the plane crashed into the water under unknown circumstances, the FAA told CNN. The Coast Guard is searching a debris field. A urgent exchange is heard on the audio tape as the pilot tells an air traffic controller he is struggling to maintain a heading. What seems to be the issue, the air traffic controller can be heard asking. Just struggling right now to maintain heading and climb, the pilot replied. The controller from the Southern California Terminal Radar Approach Control advised the pilot to land at a nearby Naval Air Station, North Island. Flight tracking data shows the plane taking off at 12:25 p.m. local time, bound for Phoenix. In the 5 minutes that followed, the plane reached a maximum altitude of only 2,100 feet before making 2 turns to the left, according to open source data from ADS-B Exchange. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the cause of the crash. Weather conditions at the time of the crash were not particularly poor. Visibility was 10 miles and winds were at about 8 miles per hour from west to northwest with no gusts. There was a thick overcast cloud layer around 1,500 feet, according to the data from nearby airports analyzed by CNN meteorologists. So yeah, another plane crash. That is also very sad. In this situation, we seem to have a little bit more details. But yeah, no, every time I hear Cessna, my butt gets a little tight because I'm like, oh no, like this isn't good. Is this plane gonna make it? And it could be a perfectly good plane. I have a friend. He's talking about like I think this is long game future stuff. He's talking about wanting to fly a plane. He's like, yeah, I could see myself doing that. And I'm like, brother, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm scared for you. Granted, I do know that like, hey, you do your best. You learn how to fly. You get all those hours in. You do it. Hey, it's just like riding a bike. It's just like driving a car. It's just like getting on a plane. At the end of the day, there are risks involved to everything. But anytime I just see one of these small planes up in the air, I'm like, oh gosh. And I live near an airfield, so I do see them kind of take off, pretty regularly throughout a week. But ever since I started doing this shit and covering all these stories, like I just feel like a little bit closer to it, and I'm like, I'm so scared because you just never know what's gonna happen. There's so many variables that can be involved. I mean, we literally have in this story where it's like, yeah, everything seemed fine, like we don't know what happened. Like 5 minutes, they take off, they're in the air, and then they crash land. Like fuck, dude. But obviously, my condolences to everyone involved in this situation. If I get more details, we'll be back to this story. I'd like to know what happened to the Cessna. But yeah, we have an update from the Baldoni Blake Lively lawsuit back and forth. Got a little bit of headway there I wanted to get into. From ABC News, Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively dismissed by federal judge. Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively was dismissed by a federal judge in New York on Monday. The It Ends With Us co-stars have been in a heated legal feud since December of 2024. In his motion, Judge Louis J. Lehman dismissed Justin Baldoni's $400 million countersuit against Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, the couple's publicist Leslie Sloan, as well as Baldoni's defamation claim against the New York Times. The alleged facts indicate that the Times reviewed the available evidence and reported, perhaps in a dramatized manner, what is believed to have happened, the opinion said. The Times had obviously no motive to favor Lively's version of events. Baldoni has until June 23rd to refile some of his claims. Lively's lawyers, Ezra Hudson, Mike Gottlieb, called the dismissal a total victory and complete vindication for Blake Lively, along with those that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties dragged into their retaliatory lawsuit, including Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and the New York Times. As we have said from day one, this $400 million lawsuit was a sham, and the court saw right through it, the statement continued. We look forward to the next round, which is seeking attorney fees, treble damages. I don't know what that means. I maybe should have looked that up. Treble damages and punitive damages against Baldoni. Baldoni, Sarowitz, Nathan, and the other Wayfair parties who perpetrated this abusive litigation. Good Morning America has reached out to Baldoni's lawyers for comment. Lively first filed a complaint on December 20th of 2024 against Baldoni with the California Civil Rights Department accusing him of sexual harassment on the set of the film, which he also directed. Baldoni responded on December 31st, 2024 with a now dismissed lawsuit against the New York Times for libel and false light invasion of privacy after it published the article about Lively's California complaint. The lawsuit claimed the Times, which included in its article alleged text messages and email exchanges between Baldoni's publicists, Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan, and the newspaper had relied on cherry-picked and altered communications with details stripped of necessary context and deliberately spliced to mislead. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, said at the time that the Times cowered to the wants and whims of two powerful, untouchable Hollywood elites, disregarding journalistic practices and ethics once befitting the revered publication by using doctored and manipulated text and intentionally omitting texts which dispute their chosen PR narrative. Now, I feel like Friedman's painting with a really wide brush here to try to separate Baldoni from Reynolds and Blake Lively as like Hollywood elites is weird to me. I mean, are you just saying that their bank's bigger, I guess, and they have a better or bigger discography of film or whatever? Sure. Then they are elites. And what is Baldoni? Like they're all celebrity actors here. And then I don't like how they've said like doctored, manipulated. Maybe you could say that there needs to be more context in terms of like the things that they said in the article and the story that they put out. But overall, from what I've heard so far, everything is what was said. Like these are actual texts, these are actual emails. I haven't heard of any kind of photoshopping or editing used. Just that like, oh, well, no, there's more context. And like, if you have the full context, then we didn't mean all the like the salacious things that it makes it seem like we said. Like, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely like waiting to see how things shake out in trial there. But this is definitely big that Justin Baldoni's countersuit has been tossed. But like it's pretty big. Because now it seems like the focus is now just going to be solely on the Blake Lively part of the lawsuit. And I don't know. I mean, where I sit with it, I still feel about the same way as when we initially covered it. I think that at the end of the day, the relationship that seemed to develop, and I don't mean I mean like in terms of working relationship between Baldoni and Lively, it was weird. You know what I mean? Like there's some conversations where I don't understand why you guys are having this conversation this way or that way. But regardless, it's like if Blake Lively is uncomfortable and saying, hey, I don't like this. And then next thing you know, there is now a like shadow campaign that has more or less been documented between Baldoni and then, you know, other people who are mentioned in here, others who are not. And it's like, okay, so it sounds like you made a campaign to make sure that like you were going to come out clean on this and Blake Lively wasn't. So you were doing this to protect your career, whatever reason, okay. But it does sound like you did some untoward shit. And it sounds like she's trying to call you out on that in a legal, in a legal way. So you do have to deal with that. And, it looks like the countersuit's not going maybe the way he wanted. Now, granted, he does get to refile, so we'll see if he does and if that sticks. But, figured this was a, worthwhile update to kind of come in on and, share how I felt about it at this point. I think, the last time we did cover it was around when it started, around the December time. So, here we are. Let's see. We have one more story that I wanted to cover, and it is about a zebra, a runaway zebra, to be specific. But let me go ahead and take my last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Oh. Okay. From NPR, Ed, the runaway pet zebra, has been captured in Tennessee. A runaway pet zebra that was on the loose for more than a week in Tennessee and became an internet sensation in the process was captured Sunday, authorities said. Ed the zebra was captured safely after being located in a pasture near a subdivision in the Christiana community in central Tennessee, the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office confirmed. The Sheriff's Office said aviation crews captured the zebra. Ed was airlifted and flown by helicopter back to a waiting animal trailer, the Sheriff's Office said in a statement. The video posted by the Sheriff's Office shows Ed wrapped in a net with his head sticking out as he is carried by the helicopter to the trailer. Ed arrived in Christiania, we're going to say Christiania, sure, on May 30th, the Sheriff's Office said. His owner reported him missing the next day. He hit the bricks. The zebra was spotted and filmed running along Interstate 24, forcing deputies to shut down the roadway. But Ed escaped into a wooded area. There were several sightings posted to social media. Ed was filmed trotting through a neighborhood. The zebra quickly became the subject of internet memes. One fake posting showed Ed dining at a Waffle House, a Southern staple. Others had him visiting other Tennessee cities or panhandling on the side of the road. The pursuit of Ed came a month after a runaway kangaroo shut down a section of Alabama interstate. Okay, so two things here. One, there was a kangaroo too. I didn't know about any of these runaway animals. I feel like so bad and out of the loop. I mean, y'all know I'm the news guy. So the fact that I hadn't heard nothing, hide nor hair of either of these stories, like that makes me feel bad. That's a disservice, and I'm sorry. That being said, what put me onto this story was actually a meme. I was literally just scrolling through Facebook and I see a picture of a guy with a tattoo. And the tattoo is Ed the zebra in the net, in the air. And I was just like, what is this? Like, I didn't understand it. I was so confused. And then, I scroll a little bit, more hours later. And I see an actual news story about Ed being captured. And I'm like, huh? What? And I guess I got to give myself a little slack. Look, I'm a human being. I got stuff I got to do. We're crushing trash. We're working out. Sometimes I miss some stories. Sometimes things fall through the cracks, as George Bush might say. You know what I mean? Children get left behind. News stories get left in the dust. But I'm glad that I got to get this story and cover it. Excuse me. And not to mention a kangaroo on top. That's a double whammy combo. And also, what is the vibes, man? The vibes are breakout. They're runaway. Over the past, 2 months, we had 2 escapes, 2 prison escapes, 2 animal escapes now. That's a lot. That's a lot. But no, that's where I'll leave it for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to my YouTube. That's a free action that helps out the pod. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Let's see here. Leave a like, leave a comment, hopefully a nice comment, a cool comment. I always appreciate that. Shout out to Mama Bear. You always be leaving some nice comments. Thank you, moms. But sharing is caring too. If you'd like, every once in a while we do get a cool share, and I appreciate you just spreading the word. But honestly, I just appreciate you listening. Full disclosure, sometimes when I close out of this, I'm like, I didn't say that right. I didn't do this well. I'm so ass. But like at the end of the day, I appreciate every single person, every single body who at least takes the old college try to say, hey, this is a new podcast to me, and I'll listen to it, start to finish, and that is what it is. If you've done this as your first time doing it, thank you so much. That's why I do it. That's cool. And if you're a person who does that and says, yeah, I'm gonna take this guy warts and all, and I'll tune in tomorrow. Thank you so much. That's crazy. You got me giggling, kicking my feet and shit. No, it really does mean a lot. That you just want to, walk with me, talk with me. Let me yap at you a little bit. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.